son! You son of a bitch!
The United States has provided significant financial assistance to Ukraine in recent years, with millions of dollars being sent to the country to support various initiatives and programs. According to data from the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. has provided over $1 billion in assistance to Ukraine since 2014, when the country faced significant political and economic challenges, including the annexation of Crimea by Russia, and ongoing conflicts in the eastern part of the country. This assistance has been provided through a variety of programs and initiatives, including economic and security assistance, as well as humanitarian and development aid. One key area of focus for U.S. assistance to Ukraine has been economic development and reform. The U.S. has provided millions of dollars in funding to support Ukraine's efforts to modernize its economy and improve its business climate, including through the provision of technical assistance and training programs. Additionally, the U.S. has provided significant assistance to Ukraine to support its efforts to strengthen its energy sector and reduce its reliance on Russian energy imports. This has included funding for the development of renewable energy sources and the construction of new energy infrastructure. The U.S. has also provided millions of dollars in security assistance to Ukraine, including funding for military equipment and training programs. This assistance has been provided as part of the U.S.'s efforts to support Ukraine's efforts to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity in the face of ongoing aggression from Russia. In addition to economic and security assistance, the U.S. has also provided significant humanitarian and development aid to Ukraine. This has included funding for programs that support the basic needs of vulnerable populations, such as food assistance and healthcare services. Overall, the U.S. has provided a significant amount of financial assistance to Ukraine in recent years, with millions of dollars being sent to the country to support a variety of initiatives and programs. This assistance has been provided in an effort to support Ukraine's efforts to modernize its economy, strengthen its energy sector, defend its sovereignty, and provide basic needs to its citizens. The United States has spent a staggering amount on wars throughout its history. According to estimates, the total cost of all wars in which the U.S. has been involved since 1775 is over $14.2 trillion in current dollars. One of the earliest and most expensive wars for the U.S. was the American Revolutionary War, which lasted from 1775 to 1783. This war resulted in the independence of the United States from Great Britain, but it came at a high cost. The U.S. government spent approximately $2.5 billion in today's dollars to fund the war effort. The Civil War, which took place from 1861 to 1865, was also a costly conflict for the U.S. This war, which was fought between the Union and the Confederacy, resulted in the deaths of over 600,000 soldiers and civilians. The total cost of the war was approximately $6.9 billion in today's dollars. The U.S. has also been involved in numerous wars abroad, including World War I and World War II. The cost of World War I, which lasted from 1914 to 1918, was approximately $32 billion in today's dollars. World War II, which lasted from 1939 to 1945, was even more expensive, with a total cost of over $4 trillion in today's dollars. In more recent years, the U.S. has been involved in numerous conflicts in the Middle East, including the Gulf War, the Iraq War, and the Afghanistan War. The Gulf War, which took place in 1991, resulted in a total cost of approximately $61 billion in today's dollars. The Iraq War, which lasted from 2003 to 2011, was even more expensive, with a total cost of over $2 trillion in today's dollars. The Afghanistan War, which began in 2001 and is still ongoing, has also been a significant financial burden, with a total cost of over $1 trillion in today's dollars. In addition to the direct costs of these wars, there have been numerous indirect costs associated with them as well. These include the costs of veterans' benefits and the costs of rebuilding and repairing infrastructure in war-torn countries. Overall, the US has spent a tremendous amount on wars throughout its history, and the financial burden of these conflicts will likely be felt for many years to come. While the costs of war are often necessary to protect national security and maintain peace, it is important for the government to carefully consider the long-term financial implications of any military action. In 2014, the United States watched with concern as tensions between Russia and Ukraine escalated into full-blown war. As the conflict raged on, the question of whether or not to intervene became a hot topic of debate. Here's a closer look at the events that led to the United States' involvement in the Ukrainian conflict. It all began in 2013, when Ukraine's president, Viktor Yanukovych, abruptly backed out of a long-planned trade deal with the European Union in favor of closer ties with Russia. This sparked widespread protests in Ukraine, and eventually led to Yanukovych's ouster in February 2014. In response, Russia responded by annexing Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, a move that was condemned by the international community as a violation of international law. In the following months, fighting broke out in eastern Ukraine between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russian separatists, who were believed to be backed by the Russian government. The United States, along with other Western nations, accused Russia of destabilizing Ukraine and supporting the separatists. In response, the United States began providing military assistance to Ukraine, including non-lethal supplies like body armor and medical supplies. The conflict in Ukraine also had significant economic implications for the United States. As tensions between the two countries grew, Russia began imposing economic sanctions on the United States and other Western countries. This led to a trade war that impacted both sides, with both countries imposing tariffs on each other's goods. In addition to the economic consequences, the conflict in Ukraine had wider implications for international relations and global security. As the tensions between Russia and the United States and its allies continued to escalate, the fear of a larger, more widespread conflict grew. As a result, the United States and its allies began working to find a diplomatic solution to the conflict. In 2015, the Minsk II agreement was signed, which called for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine. Despite the agreement, fighting in Ukraine continued for several more years, and tensions between Russia and the United States remained high. The United States continued to provide military assistance to Ukraine, and also imposed additional economic sanctions on Russia in response to their ongoing aggression. In recent years, the conflict in Ukraine has largely faded from the headlines, but the tensions between Russia and the United States continue to simmer.